Hi, this is Terrell, graphic recorder and creator of Frame the Message Inc. This is Picture This. Don't underestimate the power of the Flipchart as a low-tech, high-impact tool. Flipcharts are one of the most versatile tools readily available for speakers and presenters. This is my friend Mary. She and I make a lot of Flipcharts together as we do a lot of training with teachers in our coaching work. She is someone who definitely knows the power of a visual, but I would also say she's one who's had to tackle her Flipchart phobia. It's taken her a while, but she now grabs the pen rather than passing it on to me. I love it. So what is it that she did to overcome her Flipchart phobia? First, she realized the value that it had for its learners. Impromptu sketches, diagrams, arrows, all of these things can engage learners cognitively in the process of understanding a concept or skill. By delivering it an in-the-moment message, you build your credibility and you build the ability for them to comprehend what it is you're sharing. Flipcharts can be both a static display and a dynamic creation tool. Flipcharts can be energizing to the learning space. It's also a low-tech way to draw your audience in and help them connect with what you're saying. Consider Flipcharts as being breathing space for learning. They allow people to stop, pause, redirect their learning, and see something in another modality or way of seeing things and learning things. So a Flipchart is much smaller than a bulletin board. So what that means is it limits the real estate you have to convey your message. So the proper tools are obviously essential. So you may be asking, why can't I just create my visuals ahead of time and put them up on my PowerPoint or Keynote? You can, but I've seen a lot of presenters panic a little bit when they don't have access to a screen or to a projector or to the equipment that they need to successfully share their Keynote or PowerPoint. They spend hours at night creating them only to find out that they can't use them at the venue. Truth is, I think electronic presentations like this, although they're good for the right purpose, they also have some limitations. See, they're static. Slides don't typically change in the course of the actual learning. They usually have less of a chance of creating a dynamic experience for learners. So you shouldn't be afraid of considering the Flipchart if that's all you have, or to use it in very key points of your presentation. So hopefully you're starting to see the Flipchart as your friend and not your foe. It's not always important to have everything on the Flipchart clean and perfect, but in the event that you want to start thinking about using the Flipchart and that concerns you, here are just a few tips and tricks to help you be more successful. The key is selecting the right tools for the project you're working on. Why does this matter? Because if your number one objective is to convey a message clearly, it wouldn't make sense to use a pencil on a concrete wall, would it? Or clear paint on glass? Or even lipstick in the sand? I know, crazy examples, but nonetheless, it depicts my point. Often we grab for the nearest writing utensil without putting a lot of thought into how it will translate to the audience for whom the message is intended. It seems like so many people are interested in the tools of my work. They love to come up and meet me and peruse my pack of goodies and ask me, hey, what are you using? It always seems to be the number one question. And they look with great intrigue, thinking there might be some special magic within them that they can tap into for their own charts and posters. They're often surprised by what they find. Years ago in my classroom, I developed an infatuation with a tool. Yes, that's right, a sheer infatuation. The greatest made-for-TV invention ever, in my opinion. It was called the blow pen. You remove the cap and reverse the tube and then literally blow. Yes, that's right, blow. They were designed for kids to be used with stencils, to give it that airbrush look. Brilliant, I know. As a teacher, this was a great tool. It was fast and it covered a lot of territory. And that's something that every teacher, trust me, considers when tackling the seasonal challenge of changing out their bulletin boards. Believe it or not, I actually found them on Amazon recently, and even includes that free stencil. So definitely something to consider. But before you run out and pick up a pack of blow pens, consider my first point. Select the tools that fit your needs and purpose. For late nights in the classroom on the floor preparing big bulletin board figures, this tool was highly appropriate. Well, I guess. Depends on how you look at it. But for creating visuals with an audience or during a formal presentation, probably not the prettiest of pictures. So if you're looking for tools for charting in the act of presenting, you might want to save yourself the embarrassment of exposing a bright red face and a serious head rush. Not a great look for a public appearance. So, no, I don't carry blow pens anymore in my to-go kit. When I began to do more training and presenting, I needed a new tool. So I reached for tools that would help me with generating charts, posters, agendas that I could do there live in front of an audience. And so the tools and resources that I used need to be bold, they needed to be bright, they needed to be beautiful, and they definitely needed to be easy for me to access and use during the course of a training. So let's put a little learning to the test. Which tool do you think would be best for charting on a flip chart? A highlighter or a bold black marker? That's right, a bold black marker is best when using flip charts. Highlighters are meant for exactly that, highlighting. That means they're meant to not show up over the top of your text. So, if you want your message to be clear and actually show up, don't use a highlighter. Contrary to popular belief, this applies to blues, greens, oranges, and yellows. They can't be seen from across the room. Make sure your participants understand this too. When you ask them to chart their ideas, provide them with the right tools to do this well. Let's try another. Which would be best for a flip chart? Thin markers or thick markers? Yes, a thick marker is always best. In this case, a chisel tip is even more optimal, giving you more flexibility to draw thin and thick lines. So opt for a thick marker and less text. Be considerate of the person in the back of the room. If they can't read it, your message is lost on over 50% of the room. What a terrible waste of energy and ink. So this one might be a little more difficult. Which of these tools would be best on a flip chart? Colored pencil or chalk pastels? That's right, chalk pastels are the best choice here. Colored pencils are thin-tipped and designed to support the creation of fine lines and texture. They're beautiful for close-up, but from a distance, you'll definitely get more bang for your buck with pastel chalks. You can find them at any dollar store, and soft pastels are sometimes a bit messy, so you might want to pick up one of those food handling gloves or something to keep your clothes and hands clean. In a future module, we'll talk about other ways to give color and depth to your charted image without the use of chalks and pastels. But for now, consider them as something that will bring texture and dimension to the charts that you create. Great job! See, a lot of this is more intuitive than you thought. Here's a few more thoughts before we get started and do some practice. 1. Always check your markers first. Markers dry up fast. Sometimes you can test a marker on a small piece of paper and it all looks good. But then 2 letters in on your chart, you got a dud on your hands. This can really interrupt and stall the flow of your audience's thinking. It may not seem important, but to be swift and cool about it, I always have a backup of the same color to pick up where I left off, just in case my marker betrays me. Number 2. Choose the right colors. Remember in the introductory module, we learned about earth tones. These are tones like blues, blacks, browns, and greens. Let's take a look inside what's in my pack. So there you have it, all the tools you'll need to be successful with your next flip chart. Stay tuned for Module 1, Part 2 of Picture This.